It's July 25th, 2001. This is the first tape for Earl Bennett on the Atlanta Abandoned Mine Lands project. We're looking off into the Yuba River drainage. Decker Creek is the one that would flow off to that one right at the bottom of the hill here off to the left. The Yuba River is the one that flows off to the south. We're at our very first prospect, which we're going to call B725-0101. It's at about 7,000 feet elevation, and there was a small adit up here. We're up on a drill road that was put in by Atlanta Gold, or one of its predecessors. You can see the white color of the dump right there. The adit is totally gone. There's no sign of it. It would have been right over there behind that tree. And much of the work in here has been disturbed by the drilling roads. This is a drilling road, comes right in off the top of the ridge, and this whole area is totally honeycombed with these things. Now off to the distance there along the hillside, you can see an old road in there. We're going to go down and walk that one down out around to the point out there, and we think that goes out to a prospect down there on the other end of that point. You can see the devastation from the big burn that they had in here, which almost took out Atlanta. We're on the south side of what's called Atlanta Hill. It's just a kind of a round hill in here, bracketed by the Middle Fork of the Boise River to the north, and Decker Creek to the south, Yuba River over onto the west, and Montezuma Creek over onto the east. And we're just kind of giving you an idea of what the area in here would look like. There's nothing much to say about this prospect. Now you can see down below there's another set of drill roads that were put in. We don't think there's any more adits on this particular area, but as I said, we're going to take a stroll on out there and see what's down around the other side there, and before we come on back up the hill while we're here. So with that, we'll go back and we'll take a look at the burn area out there and fade on out of this first property. It has no name as far as we know. It's July 25th, 2001. This is one of probably the main adit of the series of 4 or 5 adits that's shown on the Atlanta East quadrangle, section 15, about maybe a quarter of a mile due north of Decker Creek. That's right at, there's a 6,800 foot contour line there. Actually, I can probably, if I can get this to focus, show you just about on the map where these babies are. It's that series of 4 right there that we've labeled B0725-0102. Now it's quite possible that 01 is also one of these, but way up higher on the ridge. We're not sure. At any rate, when we take a look, we can see we have a caved adit. There is timbers from the portal are collapsed. There's a seep that's coming out that's made a little wetland, and there's a little pond here, but the water's not flowing, so there's not enough to get a water sample. Now right above this adit is the road that comes down across there. My guess is there may have been another adit which is totally caved right up on the top up in there, where you see that really grusty looking granite, and that this down here is part of the dump from that adit up there, although we see no sign of an adit along the road. If it's there, it's right behind that tree right off the road in that little notch up there, but there's no sign of it anywhere. Now if we stand on the dump from this adit, we're calling this adit 1, even though that may be one up above it. If we take a look, there's another road that comes in. This is probably the main road that came into this adit originally. Continues on across and goes on out to the west. Again, this area that we're looking at here goes down into Decker Creek. You can see the little seep that comes out of this adit. We're just kind of tracking it along and back up to the cave spot. Now, the dump, as we move over to it and take a look, for this property, which we have given the number B25, B725-0102. If we take a look at the dump, we're looking right down the nose of the dump, and you can see the dump from the next adit down below it there. They kind of coalesce, so we'll walk down there and see. Now we won't, if there's an open adit down there, we'll video that spot too. If not, this is what we're going to do with it. You can see that it's got that one little tree growing right out of the middle of it there, which is fairly distinctive. So a pretty big dump in here. We've pasted off, we've got the measurements, and with that we're going to grab a few still pictures. By the way, I should point out, we walked down several hundred feet from the first adit that we mapped 01 way up there on the above that, another layer of drill roads above that one. So this whole area here has been drilled by Atlanta Gold and predecessors. And you can see there's a fallen down claim marker right there laying in the grass. So their maps, I'm sure, have all of this information on it. Anyway, series of 4 adits. There may be more in here. Dumps all seem to be coalescing. We're very old property, obviously, highly overgrown, lots of veggies on it. This water's probably helping that out a fair bit. And with that, we're going to look down at this lower dump down here, and we'll fade out of this first adit. July 25th, 2001, on Atlanta Hill. We're at the property. We've given the number B725-0103. We're down the road, no more than 200 feet from 02, which is up there around the corner. And right down below it, you can see a dump down there. That's what we're going to call 04. We'll get it in a little bit. Now, 03 is an adit right off the road. It's running some water, and we will get a water sample of it. There is, it's not just a spring we walked up in there, you can't see it, but there is an old piece of railing sticking out of the weeds up in there, out of that adit, and you can see up above where it's caved for a ways on back in there. But there's probably a quarter, half a gallon water a minute coming out. Comes down into the road here, kind of starts to disappear in the road. But you can see it flows on down the road a ways, and then this road continues on down the hill. We're going to follow it all the way down around the point to that last property that's down there. So with that, we'll take another look at this caved adit, which is 03, and fade on out for this property. July 25th, 2001, Earl Bennett on the camera. We're giving you an overview of those first 4 adits that we looked at this morning. The problem we ran into is they're actually shown on our map as on the other side of this hill, but there they are. They're in this fairly good, well-developed drainage in here. The white dump up towards the top of the ridge, about 100 feet below the top of the ridge, is B725-0101. Now you can see the cut just to the left of it and below. That's some of the drill roads they put in. And then down there in the trees, right in there, you can see a dump. That's the dump for B725-0104. And 02 and 03, 02 is just above 04, maybe 60 feet or so. And 03 is down the road from 04 and 02, about 200 feet right on the road. That's the one that's got the water in it. So with that, gives you a good idea, shows you the drainage that it's in. We'll take a still picture of this for these 4, and this should be used as the introduction for those first stations 1 through 4. 5 is down the road, around the corner here, about 500 feet down that road, around the corner, takes us out to 5, which is above the Yuba Tunnel. Now the top of Atlanta Hill, the top of the ridge is right up there. So that kind of gives you a good overview as to where we are on these properties. And with that, we'll fade on out. July 25th, 2001. We're at the property we're calling B725-0104. This is the lowest of the 4 adits. It's right below number 2. Number 3 is down the road to the west 150 feet or so from number 2, and it's above us too. So this is the lowermost, well, we're calling an adit now. You're not going to see much more than what you're seeing right now with the camera as they sweep across. You can see there's definitely dump material in here, and I'll show you what it looks up and back in a minute. It's heavily overgrown. I can't see any visible area that there could be an adit, but if you look up above right behind me, this is the dump for number 2, which certainly looks like it's sitting on top of this material. So where exactly the adit is in here, we're not quite sure. There is no water anywhere in here, we can tell you that. There is a fairly substantial grassy dump. Not a lot of iron staining on it. It's not impacting any drainages. There's no water running down any of these gulches. And the main adit is right up there at the top of that dump, and as we've already seen, it was also caved. So that's kind of where we are with this group of properties, and this will be the last video in here. Now again, just for review, because there's some confusion on these 4 properties. The first one we looked at is up towards the very top of the ridge. The second one is on the road, right up at the top of these fresher looking dumps. The third one's 150, 200 feet to the road, down the road to the west of the second one. That's number 3, and it's the wet one, the one we're getting the water sample from. And number 4 is the one that is directly below number 2. So that's the way we've numbered them in here. And with that, we'll give you another shot down towards the fresher looking dump material and fade on out. July 25th, 2001, and we're back at the adit that we're going to get the water sample from. It's right in that area right there, and this is where the water went down the road. We've already shown this once. What we wanted to do a little more video on here is to explain that careful examination of one of our other maps has revealed that we are actually on, if we can get it to zero in here, the Atlanta number 2 adits as shown on this map right here. And the map, the adits that we thought were plotted in the wrong place are shown on the other map, and those are actually the Minerva mine, which is right around the point up here. So we're going to finish lunch, get our water sample, and walk on over and see if we can find those adits at the Minerva. But that should kind of clarify things a little bit, if this will come into focus a little bit. Anyway, collectively the 4 adits are known as the Atlanta number 2 adits, and they went right into the Atlanta lobe. So with that explanation, we'll fade on out for this segment, and that should be the end for the Atlanta 2 adits.